بسم الله آيات ونشدو بالدعاء.
فاز الذي في ليلك الزاهي إلى الله دعا.
يا شهر رب العالمين لنا
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما من دابة في الأرض إلا على الله رزقها ويعلم مستقرها ومستودعها كل في كتاب مبين. وهو الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام وكان عرشه على الماء ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. ولئن قلت إنكم مبعوثون من بعد الموت ليقولن الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا سحر مبين. ولئن أخرنا عنهم العذاب إلى أمة معدودة ليقولن ما يحبسه ألا يوم يأتيهم ليس مصروفا عنهم وحاق بهم ما كانوا به يستهزئون. ولئن أذقنا الإنسان منا رحمة ثم نزعناها منه إنه ليئوس كفور. ولئن أذقناه نعماء بعد ضراء مسته ليقولن ذهب السيئات عني إنه لفرح فخور. إلا الذين صبروا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير. فلعلك تارك بعض ما يوحى إليك وضائق به صدرك أن يقولوا لولا أنزل عليه كنز أو جاء معه ملك إنما أنت نذير والله على كل شيء وكيل. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حجّاً بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيره يا رحمن يا الله.
اللهم زيني فيه بالستر والعفاف واسترني فيه بلباس القنوع والكفاف واحملني فيه على العدل والإنصاف وأمني فيه من كل ما أخاف بعصمتك يا عصمة الخائفين.
أسألك يا من هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق البارئ المصور الغفار القهار الوهاب الرزاق الفتاح العليم القابض الباسط الخافض الرافع المعز المذل السميع البصير الحكم العدل اللطيف الخبير الحليم العظيم الغفور الشكور العلي الكبير الحفيظ المقيت الحسيب الجليل الكريم الرقيب المجيب الواسع الحكيم الودود المجيد الباعث الشهيد الحق الوكيل القوي المتين الولي الحميد المحصي المبدئ المعيد المحيي المميت الحي القيوم الواجد الماجد الواحد الصمد القادر المقتدر المقدم المؤخر الأول الآخر الظاهر الباطن الوالي المتعالي البر التواب المنتقم العفو الرؤوف مالك الملك ذو الجلال والإكرام المقسط الجامع الغني المغني المانع ضار النافع الرشيد الصبور الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. اللهم صل أفضل صلاة على أسعد مخلوقاتك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم عدد معلوماتك ومداد كلماتك كلما ذكرك الذاكرون وغفل عنك غافلون.
ربنا
أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن مولانا ومقتدانا أمير المؤمنين عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن مولانا أمير المؤمنين عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل.
تكبيرة الإحرام. الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. سبحان الله.
ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. بحول الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك
لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم.
ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. سبحان
سبحان
الله.
ربي العظيم وبحمده.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله.
الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته
بحول الله.
بسم الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. بسم الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. بسم الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. سبحان الله.
ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله.
الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
دعاء: اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم أغن كل فقير. اللهم أشبع كل جائع. اللهم اكس كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر، إنك على كل شيء قدير. وصل اللهم على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
للقارئ أكرم الحاجي. تم التسجيل.
كنت لنا الرواء وكنت فينا المنبع. فاض الهوى منك ارتوى من فيضه ربي المنان. أنت المنى فيك السنا في النفس أنوارا قد بان.
وشهر الله ومضيفه بالأجر الوافر زينه. وشهر الله ومضيفه بالأجر الوافر زينه. عجبا ما أجزله من رزق وفره الباري. عشنا من قبل العصيان واليوم نشد الأركان. عشنا من قبل العصيان واليوم نشد الأركان. فأوان التوبة قد آن لنكفر عن فعل العالي. رمضان تجلى وابتسم طوبى للعبد إذا اغتنما. فالخير وفير إن صرما ينجي المأثوم من النار.
جاءنا شهر العبادة والغفران للصلاة، شهر ترتيل القرآن. جاءنا شهر العبادة والغفران للصلاة، شهر ترتيل القرآن. رمضان 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 رمضان. شهر العبادة والصلاة، شهر به ترجى النجاة. يغفر فيه للعصاة وبه تزيد الحسنات. شهر الله خير شهور للعاصي ذنب مغفور. ذنب مغفور. رمضان 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 رمضان. بلغني ربي للقدر واشرح بليلتها صدري، واقبل بها ربي عذري. يا سيدي واكشف ضري. يا سبحان للإيمان وفقني أيها رمضان رمضان شهر به نور الحسن قد شع يزهو في الزمن يجلي المآسي والمحن صبط النبي المؤتمن نور الله درب هداه من والاه فاز والله فاز والله رمضان 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 جاءنا شهر العبادة والغفران للصلاة شهر ترتيل القرآن جاءنا شهر العبادة والغفران للصلاة شهر ترتيل القرآن رمضان 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 رمضان
رمضان تجلى وابتسم طوبى للعبد إذا اغتنما في فضله قد قال الباري قد هل ربيع العباد وملائكة الرب تنادي استغفر يا من قد ظلما استغفر يا من قد ظلما أنفاسك فيه تسبيحا قد صرح طه تصريحا أنفاسك فيه تسبيحا قد صرح رمضان 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 من أخلص فيه للباري فسينجو من حر النار من أخلص فيه للباري فسينجو رمضان 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 تجلى وابتسم رمضان تجلى وابتسم طوبى للعبد إذا اغتنما وملائكة الرب تنادي استغفر يا من قد ظلما استغفر يا من قد ظلما رمضان تجلى وابتسم رمضان تجلى وابتسم رمضان تجلى وابتسم رمضان تجلى وابتسم سما طوبى للعبد إذا اغتنما في فضله قد قال الباري قد هل ربيع خسته از غم‌های عالم به سوی تو آمده به سوی تو همه جا مهمانی توست من اگرچه سر زده من اگرچه سر زده نظر به چشم من مکن خجل ز لغزش آمده خدای من خدای من مولای پی دنیا رفتم هر جا من ذلیل کار دنیا من ذلیل تو مرا می‌خواندی عمری دل من در وهم و رویا دل من در عذر دلم را بپذیر محتاج بخشش آمد خدای من خدای يتنزل فيه القرآن هل في الدنا شهر الرحمن أهلا مرحبا بك يا رمضان فاض بالرحمة والغفران يتنزل فيه القرآن مرت بك الأعوام تروي عن بيوت جدودنا نورا وأمنا سالما تبقى بظل قلوبنا دعوات كف متعب فاحت بمسك عطورنا آيات قدر رتلت تجلو غبار صوت المسحر يعتلي قد كان حقا مؤنسا استيقظوا يا أهلنا هذا صباح تنفس عند المغيب يطيب صوت الشيخ ليلا عسعسا شهر الصيام أنت السلام أزهرت في القلب الإيمان طبت المقام بين الكرام أهلا بألطاف الرحمن شهر الرحمن أهلا مرحبا بك يا رمضان فضى بالرحمن بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي وأغل يا غفور عثرتي فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها وهموم قد كشفتها وعثرة قد أغلتها ورحمة قد نشرتها وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الظلم وكبره تكبيرا الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده الظاهر بالكرم مجده الباسط بالجود يده الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما إنه هو العزيز الوهاب اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة وغناك عنه قديم وهو عندي كثير وهو عليك سهل يسير اللهم إن عفك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على قبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك فإن أبت عني عتبت بجهلي عليك ولعل الذي أبطى عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد اللئيم منك علي يا رب إنك تدعوني فأبلني عنك وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك كأن لي التطول عليك فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجود عليهم بفضل إحسانك إنك جواد كريم الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه والحمد لله على عفه بعد قدرته والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه وهو قادر على ما يريد الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله ولا شبيه يشاكله ولا ظهير يعاضده قهر بعزته العزة وتواضع لعظمته العظمى فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر على كل عورة وأنا أعصيه ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطى، وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفى، وبهجة مونقة قد أرى، فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه، ولا يغلق بابه، ولا يرد سائله، ولا يخيب آمله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين، ويرفع المستضعفين، ويضع المستكبرين، ويهلك ملوكا، ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاصم الجبارين، مبير الظالمين، مدرك الهاربين، نكال الظالمين، صريخ المستصرخين، موضع حاجات الطالبين، معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها، وترجف الأرض وعمارها، وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا، وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق، ويرزق ولا يرزق، ويطعم ولا يطعم، ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى، وهو حي لا يموت، بيده الخير، وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك، أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى، وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين، عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. وصل على سبتي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله. مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به وانصره وانتصر به وانصره نصرا عزيزا وافتح له فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا وما غسرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شعثنا واشعب به صدعنا وارتق به فتقنا وكثر به قلتنا وأعزز به ذلتنا وأغن به عائلنا واغض به عن مغرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وسد به خلتنا ويسر به عسرنا وبيض به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وأنجح به طلبتنا وأنجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا وأعطنا به سؤلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا وأعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا واذهب به غيظ قلوبنا واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله وعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله وبضر تكشفه ونصر تعزه وسلطان حق تظهره ورحمة منك تجللنا وعافية منك تلبسنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your a'mal, efforts, fasting in the blessed month of Ramadan until this day, and inshallah in the remainder of the month, and give us the tawfiq of completion of the month of Ramadan with sincerity and ikhlas, inshallah. I would like to just make a few announcements to all of our three communities, Masjid Rasul, Masjid Nabi, and Yasin Educational Foundation, that inshallah this Saturday on April 24th, we will have a youth night in-person program at Masjid Nabi. It will be a program starting at 10 p.m. So it's a post-iftar program. And we want to invite everyone over the age of 13 to sign up and inshallah come with their family if they want to, or come themselves and benefit from the programs we prepared for them. There will be inshallah educational programs as well as activities that there will be fun and kind of engaging for the youth. There will be physical activities as well as games, prizes, Q&As, different components, and we will have appetizers during the night. And at the end, we will give you a to-go suhoor that you can, inshallah, take at home. And to follow the protocols, safety protocols due to pandemic, we try to limit people's interaction and exposures to avoid people sitting down and eating without their mask, probably. So that would be the first, April 24th, starting at 10 p.m. But you need to sign up. So make sure go to onlinemasjid.com, our website for this collaboration. We used it last year and this year as well. Pretty much all of our programs, all of our announcements, you can go to this website and find all the details there. So go to onlinemasjid.com and sign up for the youth program this Saturday at 10 p.m. Everyone is welcome over the age of 13 because it's a late night program. Youngsters, we encourage them to stay home and inshallah rest for the night. But for over the age of 16, brothers and sisters are welcome to sign up. And as I said, we prepared inshallah different programs for them. The second announcement would be about our Ramadan campaign. We had it last year as well. As you know, because a lot of our, not a lot, almost all of our three communities that we are collaborating, we're having virtual and online programs. So it means that most of the work is on you as parents in your house. So to make sure the atmosphere of Ramadan is alive in your household, So we would like to invite you to share your moments of Ramadan, your preparation for Ramadan with you and your family in a video of 60 seconds or less, and then upload it to our website of Online Masjid. It's a Ramadan campaign and making sure to share how you are celebrating Ramadan in your household. Just make sure it's 60 seconds or less, and this will be open from tomorrow. So starting tomorrow, you can upload your videos to onlinemasjid.com. But just make sure when you're recording the videos, number one, use your phone or your cell phone horizontally, so we have a better way to edit the videos. And also make sure the audio, let's say if you want one of your children or youngsters to recite Quran or Dua, that the audio is in a good quality so we can share it with the community. So these are the two announcements I would like to make for tonight. And inshallah, stay tuned for our Ramadan programs every night starting at 7:30 p.m. on YouTube channels of these three centers. And we will have in-person Layali al-Qadr program. All 3 nights of Qadr, we will have in-person majalis. More details will be announced as we get closer to those nights. Also, sign up is requirement. So once again, Youth Night on April 24th, Saturday at 10 p.m. You have to sign up. It's open for brothers and sisters of age of 13 and above. And secondly is our Ramadan campaign starting tomorrow. You can upload your videos of you and your family, sharing how you are experiencing Ramadan, how you're celebrating Ramadan. It could be about how you decorated your house. It could be about your children reciting Quran or du'as, or it could be even you as a family saying Ramadan Mubarak or Happy Ramadan to the community, so we can keep the spirit of the community alive during this time that we are having our program virtually and online. Thank you so much for following our programs. Inshallah, you found them beneficial. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us increase of tawfiqat to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to serve the religion of Islam, and to serve the Imam of our time. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you, your loved ones from the illness of, from any illness, from any disease, spiritual disease as well as the physical disease. May Allah keep you safe and protected, inshallah. Keep us in your du'as. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. Inshallah, you brothers and sisters, everybody is doing good and your fasts are accepted, inshallah. We said that the best way for us to benefit in the month of Ramadan is to connect to Ali ibn Abi Talib, which is a true symbol of perfection and completion in every realm of life. When you look at one person, they might have one attribute, 2 good attributes, 3 good attributes. But Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is an endless garden of different and various virtues, and each one of these virtues, he has reached it into its complete perfection. So when we want to become complete, and this is the innate and primordial desire of man is to become complete, we go towards and beseech the most complete of human beings, which are the 5 that are under the cloak, or known as Prophet Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, Imam Ali, Lady Fatima, Imam Hassan, and Imam Hussein alayhim salam. Letter 31 in Nahj al-Balagha, from the different letters that Imam Ali alayhi salam has, is a very good letter, is a letter that has been recommended to learn. And we are going through some of the lines from the beginning of Nahj al-Balagha. We won't be able to finish all of it, obviously, but even these few lines for us, hopefully in this month of Ramadan, will become ma'rifat in our heart and will allow us to act upon it and become better. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. فَأُوصِيكَ بِتَقْوَى اللَّهِ يَا بُنَيَّ وَلُزُومِ أَمْرِهِ. We talked about last line, about I advise you to fear God, O my child, and abide by his commands, narrated from Imam Ali alayhi salam. So we talked about taqwa being a fortress. We talked about taqwa being protection and not restriction. We talked about taqwa being an itq for us, freeing us from the slavery of the lower desires, slavery of temptations. We talked about the best way for a society to reach perfection is for that each and every individual to reach spiritual freedom, which is provided by taqwa. We talked about taqwa being a shield. We talked about taqwa from Nahj al-Balagha. We also talked about taqwa being libas in the Quran, being clothes, protection for us. We also talked about taqwa, a person that is muttaqi is like a person that rides a horse that is trained, and he can very precisely maneuver throughout the different challenges that he faces in life. So what better issue to talk about than taqwa? And what better thing to gain than taqwa? And we said that taqwa has different realms in our economic life, our financial life, our family life, our social life, our religious life, our worship. And all of these, we need to have taqwa in all parts of our life. Shaykh Mutahari talks about a person that focuses on taqwa in one area, and God consciousness, God wariness in one area of his life, and doesn't focus on other parts or other completions, like a cartoon that either has large ears or a large nose or large eyes. We need to learn like Imam Ali alayhi salam and be complete in all realms, outside of the house, inside of the house. And I know it is difficult, but inshallah in this month, things are much easier and we can make ourselves much better people. The second part, so we talked about taqwa last night. Today we're going to be talking about وَعِمَارَةِ قَلْبِكَ بِذِكْرِ. Fill your heart with remembrance of him. Shahr Ramadan is Shahrullah, is the month of God. And during this month, our du'as are known to be mustajab. Our du'as are known to be answered. Our prayers are answered. And this is the month that we come back to God, that we remember God. Pretty soon, the month of Ramadan is passing very fastly. Pretty soon it will be the nights of Qadr, the nights of destiny. I remember when I came to the Hawza and the seminary, our great teacher of Akhlaq, Ayatollah Mujtahidi, he would have every night in Shahr Ramadan would be ihya for him. Every night he would have a gathering and we would turn off the lights and we would remember God, and he would mention about issues about what would happen if we were to die right now and what would befall us, and we would remember the Ahlul Bayt. So each night we valued as being as if a night of Qadr, a night of destiny. So we are preparing ourselves right now, my friends, because soon it is going to be the night of destiny. Soon every precise matter, every important matter is going to be determined. And soon that night that is worth more than alf shahr, 1,000 months, is going to be approaching us. So we should remember God, we should remember dhikr, we should remember God's remembrance and fill our hearts with his remembrance, because we're going to be reading these beautiful, very long du'as. And maybe some of these nights are some of the best nights of our lives. Some of these nights when you remember God, when you connect to God, that I don't know if there's anything sweeter than the remembrance of God. When you look at some of the traditions, it talks about what is the greatest joy in heaven. Many people want to go to heaven, maybe just to relax and sleep, because they worked them so hard in this world, waking up 5 a.m. every day and coming back when it becomes dark at home. And they just want to go to the grave and just sleep for a very long time because they're tired in this world. Some people have other things that they read in the Quran about rivers flowing with milk and honey and different enjoyments of heaven. But the most joyful thing in heaven, according to tradition, is the love of God. The love of God is the most enjoyable thing in heaven. and the love in the way of God, the love of, we could say, the prophets, the love of their successors. So therefore, when you connect and you read these du'as, and hopefully we're doing these du'as in terms of quality, we're looking at a quality of remembrance. There are many people, they have completed Mafatih al-Janan, read it from the beginning to the end. But when it comes to social obligations, when it comes to family obligations, when it comes to different things, they are not a good person. We are not looking just to be a parrot and recite du'as over and over and over, and not to reach and not to change ourselves. We're looking to be like the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, that they sincerely and truly would do du'a and remember God. So tonight we're going to be talking about the remembrance of God, that filling our hearts with the remembrance of Him. So when you talk about the remembrance of God, dhikr, it is, what does dhikr mean? It is mentioning something or someone by the heart or by the tongue. And this is called, a dhikr. And this has been mentioned in the Quran, dhikr, sometimes referring to different things in the Quran. 300 times around in the Quran, dhikr is mentioned, the remembrance is mentioned. And the most beloved of dhikrs are, for example, La ilaha illallah, or La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. La ilaha illallah, there's nothing worth, ilah means worship, nothing deserves worship but Allah. Nobody deserves my servitude but God. When you really think of these dhikrs that you mentioned, sometimes might be something so short, but it is very powerful. Did I really think about it, that why should I worship anything else but God, who is giving me and refreshing my existence every second? وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. And there's no power but God. If I really do remember these dhikrs and practice these dhikrs, لَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ, meaning that there's no power but God when it comes to who is effective in this world. No force is effective but besides God. And everything that is happening in this world is being controlled by Him. He is our Rabb. He is our powerful and controlling Lord. And therefore, when we face challenges in our lives, we know that these are in the hands of God. And if He wants to instantaneously, He can say, Kun fayakun, be, and it is, and remove our problems and difficulties. So when it comes to dhikr and remembrance of these du'as that we're going to be doing, inshallah, we're doing du'a iftitah, attributed to Imam Mahdi in the time of Ghaibat, the occultation related by Muhammad ibn Uthman Amri, doing du'a iftitah. Look at the beginnings of these du'as. Try to concentrate and focus on these remembrances, on these du'as, and especially at the end when it talks about wanting Imam Mahdi back, wanting the government of Imam Mahdi. When we do remembrances or do dhikrs or du'as of a Joshan and Kabir, as soon we'll be doing the shield, that we are doing du'a, mentioning the names of God over and over, and asking God al-Ghawth, to help us and to rid us and save us from the hellfire. Khallasna min an-nar ya Rab. Khallasna. This is the only du'a that we have in this du'a. Or du'as like Abu Hamza, beautiful du'as that talk about this relationship, from the very beginning, to not punish me, the very first line, not to be punished, not to be punished, and to, therefore, this type of relationship that you're looking for in these du'as is the relationship of the slave to his master, to his Lord. That God, I don't want you to punish me. I don't want you to bring about your discontent. That I am crying so that you can free me. I am crying that you can relieve me from the trials and tribulations of the hereafter. But when you look also at remembrances, there are specific places that we should remember God more. So we're looking at trying to increase the quantity of dhikr remembrance. Some person, he remembers God a few times in the day. One person, he remembers God the entire day. So we're looking at trying to increase how much we remember God, how much we are with God. We're looking at this ma'iyat, that we are constantly thinking of God, with God, doing actions for God. Now, I know that sometimes it could be overwhelming at the beginning, but we're going to mention at the end factors that will help us be in more of a constant remembrance of God. And the opposite of dhikr is obviously ghafla, is neglect. That neglecting God will bring a dead heart. Neglecting God and just living and doing things for the material, this will kill our heart. So we're enlivening our heart, and how Imam Ali alayhi salam is talking about وَعِمَارَةِ قَلْبِكَ, fill your heart or construct your heart with remembrance. This will be a pure heart. This will be a qalb as-salim. This will be a nurani heart, a heart that is full of light. And when else are we going to get this besides Shahr Ramadan? When else are we going to focus on remembering God besides this month that we are fasting for Him? That, a Sawm Wali that he mentions in the tradition attributed to God, that a Sawm Wali, that fasting is for me and I will reward it. So ibadats and worships that we have in this month are all, actually, it's very interesting that even when it comes to worship, our sleep in this month is worship. Our anfasakum tasbih, even our breath that we take, how many inhale and exhales do we do inside each day? Maybe 10,000. Each one of these is tasbih in such a month. So isn't it worth it that we focus on remembering God in this month? Isn't it important that we remember our Imam of the age, Hujjat ibn Hassan alayhi salam, in this month? And obviously one of the best dhikrs of this month is what? Doing salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Very simple. But when you do salutations to the Prophet and his family, you get salutations back. And you get the salawat of Prophet Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. They're beloved, the best of creation of Allah. And therefore, your prayers will be answered with the salawat. One of the heaviest things in the scale in the hereafter is salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Very short, very powerful. And these are very good. A lot of times you can listen in this majlis right now. You can listen and also at the same time practice dhikr and do dhikr. Some of our ulama all the time were focusing on these dhikrs and remembrances. Sometimes doing Surah Al-Qadr, for example, over and over, this type of dhikr, remembrance, and how powerful is reciting some of these surahs, for example. Surah Al-Qadr mentioning a few times on water, for example, and then giving it to the sick, how it gives shifa. Or Surah Al-Qadr reciting, this surah and this remembrance, the Quran is remembrance. Reciting it on a dead person when you visit his grave. They say that 7 times that person in the grave will be forgiven. You will be forgiven. Surah Al-Tawheed, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. A lot of times people ask, they want to be with the Quran. They want to live with the Quran. One of the best ways is to remember and mention these very short and powerful surahs in the Quran. For example, Surah Al-Tawheed and the effects that Surah Al-Tawheed has. When we sleep, we recite Surah Al-Tawheed, or for protection, reciting Surah Al-Tawheed, or Surah Al-Tawheed 3 times, equivalent to reciting the Quran. So it's very simple. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid, wa lam yulad, wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Very short, but sweet. It's very interesting. In Hadith also mentions 3 times we just said reciting Surah Al-Tawheed is equal to Quran, completing the entire Quran. And they say, it's the light of the Quran. Meaning, Imam Baghdad, there's a narration that he says, I'll explain ma'arif and beliefs from one word in Surah Tawheed. Allahu Samad, for example. So we look at these dhikrs, La ilaha illallah, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. These short surahs in the Quran. And you're seeing that this is very good ways to you while you're, either you're driving or you're working or you're listening to a speech at the same time, you're remembering God. In the same way that 3 times reciting Surah Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad or Tawheed is reciting the Quran, there's tradition, and in the same way, 3 manners we should aid Imam Ali, or loving Imam, we should love Imam Ali, which is the completion of faith, these 3 ways, in the heart, by the tongue, and by the hand. So there's also a connection of Surah Tawheed with Imam Ali alayhi salam. But when is it really emphasized for us to remember God? I'm going to mention a few places where in the hadith we have that remembrance of God is important. And hopefully you can remember these things. And these are treasures that we have from the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, that you will not get these anywhere else. These are from the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. One is when facing an enemy. We all have difficulties. We have, problems. Now, I don't want to say, there are family members that I don't want to say they're enemies, but some family members maybe you don't like. Maybe there's a boss you don't like, or there's difficult situations that you have in general. Or somebody that is your enemy, someone that doesn't like you. Here it says in the tradition from Imam Ali and Al-Khisal, إِذَا لَقِيتُمْ عَدُوَّكَ فِي الْحَرْبِ. Then it says, فَأَقِلُّ الْكَلَامِ, speak less. When you face such a difficulty, speak less. A difficult situation, you see your enemy. وَأَكْثِرُوا ذِكْرَ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَ, and increase your remembrance of God. Then God will help you. So those difficult situations, you do dhikr. You can do La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-aliyyil azim. There's no power but except for God. Or La ilaha illallah, and we worship God. Beautiful slogans. If I really think even these slogans that we have, if we're trying to design, or these sentences, if we try to write one ourselves, it would never be so beautiful as what Allah has for us. When entering the marketplace, another place to remember God. There are times that are dangerous for us, are distractions for us. So those times that either we're scared, those times that we are busy shopping, maybe they should put these hadith on Amazon or something when they enter Amazon to make sure they remember God before they enter such a vast online store. أكثروا ذكر الله from Imam Ali again. Azza wa Jal, إذا دخلتم الأسواق, when you enter the market, عند اشتغال الناس, while people are busy and God is looking, God is watching. You imagine you enter the market, everyone is busy with the world, trying to make a profit here. Some people are trying to rip someone off there. Someone's trying to overcharge this guy over here. And others are just busy trying to gain and purchase things. But then there's one person that enters the marketplace and he has a tasbih, or he has a remembrance, a heart that he's remembering God, and God notices that. He says, oh, look, from all these, as if from all the creation of mine, one person is remembering me. فَإِنَّهُ كَفَّارَ لِلذُّنُوبِ. So then what does God do? Then it is expiation of your sins. Your sins will be removed when you go to the marketplace and remember Him. وَزِيَادَةٌ فِي الْحَسَنَاتِ, an increase in good deeds. وَلَا تُكْتَبُ فِي الْغَافِلِينَ. وَلَا تُكْتَبُ فِي الْغَافِلِينَ. And He will not be written as the neglectful ones. La ilaha illallah. Brothers and sisters, let's say something honest, to ourselves. I'm saying this to myself. Don't think I'm constantly remembering God all the time. May Allah remove my ghafla, inshallah, my forgetfulness, my neglectfulness. How many hours a day do we remember God? Honestly, how much do we remember Him? And how much is He constantly remembering us? If He doesn't remember us, then we would be gone. We wouldn't exist. He's giving existence to us. So therefore, 24/7, He is watching us, remembering us, protecting us. But how much, as if, when it comes down to it, as if we have multiple gods, we have many gods. We only have one God to remember. But God has as if the way that he watches us and remembers us, as if he only has one creation. There's only you. That's the way, watching you all right now. Imagine you're listening to this speech right now. He is watching us. And, waiting, obviously, because he has very high expectations of insan. The angels criticized God for when he created Adam. And God knows something that the angels do not. And, and of course, the most perfect people that remembered Allah are the Prophet and Imam Ali and Ahlul Bayt alayhi wasalam. And it says the angels, and when God created Adam, the angels were instructed to do sujood. And then the tradition, it says, because they knew the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam were in the loins of Adam. They knew that Prophet Muhammad and Imam Ali were going to come from the descendants of Adam. And that was one of the reasons why Allah instructed in hadith to bow down to Adam, because he saw people that would remember God, people like Ali ibn Abi Talib in the middle of war, when people are asking him about God and about Tawheed, and some of the companions are telling him, why are you asking? This is a time of war, criticizing. But in the tradition, basically, Imam Ali is saying that this is why we're at war, for Tawheed, to answer these questions. This is all part of the remembrance of God. So therefore, we don't want to be listed as the Ghafireen. How much do you remember God throughout the day? Even worse, if you really think about this, and this is going to be sad now, and I'm talking to myself, how sad it is. How much do I remember God in my salat? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I start, okay, a little bit, I remember God, I have to make niyyah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, okay, I'm remembering God. Then by the time it's wala dhalin, it usually turns into either the lost and found, like I'm thinking of my keys or thinking where I place this or things to do. So at the end, it doesn't even take the entire surah for us to be neglecting God. So one of the best ways, and I'm going to mention this at this, how can we constantly remember God, is focusing in our salat. And I'm telling myself this more than anybody else. I need this more than anybody else. Our teacher, Shaykh Ahmad al-Mushtadi, would say also, when you speak, give a speech to yourself, to your own nafs. So I'm telling myself this. The best way to focus in the remembrance of God is to remember Him in your salat. Practice remembering Him in your salat. When you remember Him in your salat, in your sujood. And the worst way of worship is that worship that just becomes habitual. It's good, something to become a habit, but it becomes habitual and not having an effect anymore. That salat, that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, or those du'as that we read, they're long and you're just trying to finish, or that Quran we read, you're just trying to finish it. Those aren't going to change us. It's good, they have benefit. They still have some benefits, better than nothing, yes. But you're looking at that ittisal, that connection with God. That connection, sometimes if you just, one line, say, dhalamtu nafsi, I have done dhulm to myself. And you just say this line and you really remember that throughout the year, I have done dhulm to myself. I have hurt my spirit. I have hurt who I am. And hell is just the result of my actions. So focusing on one line, focusing on that ittisal that I have these nights, and trying to, in the Shahr of Ramadan, struggling to leave that realm of ghafla and not becoming of the ghafili. So 2, marketplace. When there's world, you can do it. Of course, you have to shop. You need clothes. There are sales, I know. When there are sales, things are 50% off, 60% off, sometimes even higher. Very important, yes, I know. But remembering God at the same time and thanking Him, saying, Allah, this is rizq from you. Don't separate this from God. Do your duties, but say, this is from you. Thank you. This is my rizq. You helped me. There's a sale and I was about to oversleep, or I was about to forget about it. You woke me up for the sale. Alhamdulillah, you woke me up, now I'm going to buy things. Always have this sweet relationship you have with God throughout the day, this grateful relationship, appreciative relationship, that you're doing things for Him, and when you see things come to you, that's called ma'iyyat, living with Him. Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Qadi was a great alim, great teacher. From some of the ulama, we had a very impactful teacher. Sometimes they say that he would, speak, and for 1 week, that student would be baffled and thinking about what Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Qadi would say. And they asked him, is it true, the way that you're living, that they talk about that you're a wali of God, they say that you're always, wali means you're so close to God. And he maybe didn't mean it that this way, that it's being arrogant, but he says, how is it not true that for like 40 years, 30 years, I have been living with God. I have been living with God. His existence, everything in the morning and the night is with God. The entire time, he always has that ittisal. He doesn't have that ghafla. So we see, from teachers that have mastered this, they're always consistently remembering God. And when you remember God, you won't do sin anymore. You won't do sin. And it is sweet, you're living with God. To even say something higher than this is maybe you're going to criticize me for this. But at the end, you might not see any difference between the hereafter and this world, between heaven and this world. You leave this realm of time, because what did I mention is the best and the sweetest thing of in heaven is remembering God and being connected to Him. That is the final goal of us, is qurbatan ila Allah, proximity to God. And once this is realized, this liqa is realized, this meeting with God is realized here, and you're living with Him all the time, it does not matter if they take your life or not, your spirit is with God. This world becomes your heaven. This world becomes your heaven. These are very impactful things, I believe, that if we look at in front of us, not that I have reached this at all, but I'm sure in month of Ramadan, at least sometimes you're remembering this. You're experiencing this sweetness of faith, this liddat of munajah, this liddat that Ayatollah Bahjat said, even if the rulers, they would leave their kingdom, they would leave what they had to worship God if they understood how sweet this is. So we have this ability by remembrance of God to turn in our world into heaven. And that you really think about things, and maybe for us, I'm sure you've went to very holy places. You've gone to Hajj, some of you, inshallah, this year. Those that haven't right now, do dua, you'll go to Hajj, inshallah, before it's too late. You go for a ziyarat, and you notice these are places because when you meet God and you remember Him, this is the sweetest thing, the best thing is remembrance of God. As believers, we're always hoping for one thing, and that is why we're not afraid of death. We're always anticipating meeting God, because this remembrance is going to become, this ittisal and connection is going to be, for us, much stronger in the hereafter, after the barriers are removed, that we meet God. Obviously, do we see God? No. The hadith very clearly, we won't see God, but we see Him with our hearts. We can't see God. Why? It's just logically not possible for God to be limited, because something that you'll see has physical shape, is tangible, is limited, has parts. That's the realm of, the physical realm is the realm of limit. It's impossible for us to see God. And the narrations advise us. Not like some of our Sunni brothers that talk about ru'yatullah, that meeting Him, you'll see Him in the hereafter. That's an exception. They say, most of them, they say you'll see Him in the hereafter. We do not believe in that. There's nothing, you will see God with the heart, which is a higher form of witness, a higher experience than with the eyes. Is, witnessing or learning through the heart, or through presential knowledge, or knowledge by presence. So therefore, we are trying to, Shahr Ramadan, we're trying to live in our heart, build our heart, strengthen our heart with His remembrance. And there's different times, we said. One, so and we talked about laqa Allah for us is something sweet. We anticipate that. When facing an enemy. Two, when entering the marketplace. Three, during distress, when giving judgment. We have in the hadith from Bihar, from the Prophet of Islam, اذكر الله عند همك إذا هممت. Remember Allah during your distress when you're distressed. How many of you had news that something terrible had just happened, either to you, your family members, or something? What do you do then? The first thing you do, bring it to God, share it with God. And share it to God and say, God, I'm giving you this distress. Please take care of it. This is called tawakkul, doing wakalat, giving this affair to God. You don't know what's going to happen in the future, but you give it to Him, remembering Him, first thing. The worst thing to do is to turn our backs to God. Na'udhu billah. When bala comes up, bala came to wake us up. It's a wake up call. That bala didn't happen for us to, that calamity didn't happen for us to forget God. وَعِنْدَ لِسَانِكَ إِذَا حَكَمْتَ. Remember God with your tongue when you give judgment. When you give judgment, they ask you, even if you're not a judge, maybe you can say when you're judging someone, they're giving you an opportunity to see what is right, what is wrong, who's right, who's wrong. وَعِنْدَ لِسَانِكَ إِذَا حَكَمْتَ وَعِنْدَ يَدِكَ إِذَا قَسَمْتَ. And with your hand when distributing anything. 4, I'm not going to mention this too much, is when in anger, because I'm Sayyid, and it's obviously that Sayyids get angry a lot. So this I will not mention too much. Inshallah, you will not become like me in your control your anger, inshallah. 5, alone and during pleasures. Imam Bagha alayhi salam in Amaliyah Saduq, fi Tawrat Maktub. I'm going to give a hadith from our Jewish cousins. And it's from the Torah. So don't say that we don't read the Torah. We read the Torah that Imam Bagha alayhi salam brings for us. The Imams are the inheritors of the Anbiya. They inherit everything from the prophets. Imam Bagha alayhi salam, I don't know if you've noticed this, when you do ziyarah of the Ahlul Bayt, a lot of times you start with Prophet Adam alayhi salam, and you mention all the prophets, and then you get to the Imams. Because it's the same line, the line of Prophet Adam, Prophet Nuh, Prophet Musa, Prophet Isa alayhi salam, Prophet Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. It's the same line, and they have inherited the knowledge of the prophets. Not only did they not inherit the knowledge of the prophets, the Imams, they inherited even some of the articles, like the ring of Prophet Sulaiman in tradition, the staff of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, items that Imam Zaman has, So beautiful. This is all one religion, one message. So we read the Torah, we enjoy the Torah that Imam Bagha alayhi salam, the unchanged Torah. It says in there, it says, Ya Musa, Allah speaks to him, Udhkuruni fi khalawatik. Oh, Musa alayhi salam, remember me in times of loneliness. When you're all alone, you ever see, I don't know, many people here, actually this day and age, many people are suffering from being alone. And especially during the coronavirus pandemic, we have missed our friends, not seeing family members. A lot of us are not in the masjid. Last year we were in the masjid, you have to listen to me, online, with a monitor. So a lot of times we are alone, but that isn't a wahsha, that is not a scare for the believer. It's actually an opportunity. That opportunity, udhkurni fi khalawatik, remember me in times of loneliness. Wa inda surur lidhatik, and remember me when enjoying your pleasures. Remember me, don't only take your tears for God. Sometimes you only remember God when we're upset and crying and distressed. Remember God when you're happy. Remember God when there is a nice sale and that item that you wanted, it's 70% off now. Let's go higher, 90% off. Udhkuruni, Allah, Allahu Akbar, mashallah, I found it, alhamdulillah. It's on sale, and it matches, the purse matches, the shoes, or the matches, the handbag or the briefcase. You look, stunning, alhamdulillah. So when you find these items online, in the surur, you're very happy. Or obviously when you're doing iftar. I'll tell you a nice trick. I learned this from this great, not myself, this great artist, Ayatollah Abdul Karim Kashmiri. We share a great-great-great-grandfather. Our family, I was studying our family tree, and it comes from Imam Jawad alayhi salam and his son, Imam Zada Mubarakah, that came from all the way from Medina to Qom. And he had children here in the city of Qom, and there's a place in Qom today, they say is buried with 40 members of his family, 40 Imams, others, children of the Imams of Jawad, Imam Hadi alayhi salam, living in Qom together. And the people of Qom first, they say they didn't realize who he was. They were rude to him and mean to him, and they left. And then they went and they found out who he was, and they apologized. This is the son of Imam Jawad. So he came to Qom, and from there, our lineage, many years was in Qom. And then one of our ancestors from Imam Jawad alayhi salam, maybe 7th, 8th, 10th, goes to Kashmir, goes to India area, and becomes Hussein Qawmi. And there's a shrine for him there. And then from there, they come into Iran, the Razavi Sayyids, those from Imam Jawad. So Ayatollah Abdul Karim Kashmiri, he's from the same lineage, that we have. So we also had Kashmiri. It was, deleted after a while. This Razavian now, the brothers that came into Iran. So this arif and true person that I know some of my friends, their fathers would visit them, and he would do sincere dhikr of God. And you can look, there's some videos of him too, especially they ask him how to connect to Imam Zaman. He was a teacher, he's an Ayatollah too, teacher of Kifaya, wrote commentary in Kifayatul Usul. And he mentions this when I mentioned وَعِنْدَ السُّرُورِ لِلذَّتِكِ, when you're at iftar time and it's time for you to break fast. He says, I forgot the terminology he calls it. He says, make yourself, I'm trying to look for the word in English. Kind of like it says, I'm looking for the word, it's to, naz kardan, kind of like, you kind of like, you're trying to bring God's affection for yourself. You're trying to become, sweet, so God shows you more affection. So he says, do this. You get that iftar, that luqma, and before you break your iftar, he says, this is very effective. He says, God, he wants you to fast, and he wants you to break your fast. Obviously, he doesn't want you to suffer. He's Arhamar Rahim. He says, God, I'm not going to eat this food until you give me my hajah. Just a little bit. You don't have to wait like 2 hours, to suffer and start. Just a little bit, this sweet relationship. We're talking about remembering God in the surur. You're going to do iftar, and iftar is very sweet, obviously. Inshallah soon. Actually, the time period is different, but you guys already did iftar, alhamdulillah. But when it's iftar time, you imagine the tea's there, the dates are there, and the milk's there, whatever. And it's very sweet for you. You remember God and saying, God, I'm not going to have iftar until you give me my hajah, until you give me that dua, what I need. I'm not going to do iftar. That sweetness of in surur, remembering him. And then udhkurukum inda ghafalatik, and remember him in the times of negligence. So because we're running out of time, I believe, I don't like to make these too long, because pretty soon, I don't want you did iftar and you might have food coma. Let's just see how long we've been going for. So say salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj. Okay, and if there are questions too, I can answer them. But to wrap things up, we are looking to remember God and build our hearts with remembrance. That happens with a few things. I'm going to give a few pointers and end, inshallah. One, we said concentration in salat. When you don't remember God in your salat, how are you going to remember him when you're at the marketplace? Very hard. And then the issue is, you struggle because we said you do Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you start your salat and then you completely forget. Why? Because we didn't build that heart. There are issues that you can do immediately to focus on salat, and there's issues that are long-term. That heart, once it's attached to the world, it's going to be hard for it to connect. A heart like mine. So you're looking at that environment, providing a spiritual environment for yourself, for that heart, especially in this Shahr Ramadan, and protecting yourself, and that you remember him, and this will cause you more remembrance. Let's give a hadith. We gave a hadith from our cousins, the Jews, and we're going to give a hadith from our Christian cousins, from Isa alayhi salam. Remember, the Imams, they preserved not only the Quran and hadith and what the prophets taught, and they actually enlivened it and protected it. They also protected what Prophet Musa alayhi salam said, what Prophet Isa alayhi salam says. Prophet Isa alayhi salam, they asked him, who should we sit with? The apostles. Who should we sit with? Al-Hawariyun, 12 apostles. Isa, Ya Ruh Allah, man nujalis. Who should we sit with? He gave 3 pieces of advice. Man yudhakkirukumullah ru'yatu. Sit with those brothers, sisters, sit with those, become friends with those, that when you sit with them, they causes you to remember God. You look at them, it causes you to remember God. Their actions. Actually, I even believe, their face, the luminous face, the nur that they have, it causes you to remember God. وَيَزِيدُ فِي عِلْمِكُمْ مَنْتِقُ. And that increases your knowledge, their speech. You sit with them, you learn something. You learn a hadith, you learn a verse of Quran, you learn a trade, you learn something valuable. وَيُرَغِّبُكُمْ فِي الْآخِرَةِ عَمَلُ. And his actions causes you to have more desire for the hereafter when you see them. So when you have an environment of being with good people, with solaha, with abrar, good people, then immediately you're going to be remembering God. Every time that I visit, unfortunately I've been deprived of this, but visiting some of the big ulama, visiting some of the big maraj al-taqleed, and seeing them, immediately you go home, what happens to me, at least personally. I go home and I start opening the books more. I want to study more. Because I see, say, this maraj al-Ayatollah Shubayri Zanjani answering questions, and very strong and at an old age, and answering questions, and this causes me to learn something from him, and he causes me, pushes me to work for the hereafter. And the last is protecting the heart from sin. When that heart is full of sin, when that heart is full of haram music, even besides it being haram, look at the lyrics they're saying. It's just of ghafla, neglecting God. It's things that are besides God. Even we have issues with what's being said. Not that it's haram necessarily, but even what's being said, except for haram music. But just look at the lyrics and what's the message that's being spread, or other things that are always going into your heart. Protecting yourselves from those things that distract you from God. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. At the end tonight, I want to mention a little bit about Imam Ali alayhi salam, because I truly believe the best way to remember God and to come to know God is with Ali ibn Abi Talib. As in tradition, we have Bina Urif Allah. Through us, Ahlul Bayt, God is known. Through Bina Ubidallah. Through us, God is worshipped. Imam Ali alayhi salam, pretty soon it will be the 19th of the Shahr Ramadan. This is the month that Imam Ali's beard will be drenched with blood. And whenever a lot of the believers, this month reaches them, they say this is going to be one of the worst nights of their life. Because Ali ibn Abi Talib will be separated from them. And they can't bear to witness and hear the story of how this infinitely kind Imam, infinitely compassionate Imam, was also infinitely oppressed and madloom. Look at the dhikrs and the remembrances that Ali ibn Abi Talib did. Look at the worship of Ali. of how he had worshipped God. Look at him as the caliph, the ruler of the Muslimin, and the way that he would leave the city to worship God in private. And look at his final nights, that it is said in the Maqtal, it is said in the 19th, I won't be here for the 19th. You'll benefit from people that are much better than me, scholars that are much better from me. But it says in the 19th, he was at the home of his daughter, Kulthum, and Imam Ali was praying and she brought iftar. I brought some salt, some milk, and oat bread. 3 things: salt, milk, and oat bread for the table. After prayer, Imam Ali says, my daughter, when attributed to him, when do you see that I had 2 different types of food? Salt, milk, and oat bread. When did you see that I have 2 different types of food? I won't eat until you remove one of the items. I removed the milk, and Imam Ali had some bread with salt. So that night, my father was different. The remembrances and the dhikrs of Imam Ali. Sometimes he would perform salat the last night of Ali ibn Abi Talib before being struck by the sword. He would go to the yard and look at the sky. This is how Imam Ali worshipped God. And say that I swear that I wasn't told a lie. I don't lie. Tonight is the night that God and his messenger has promised me. They have promised me. He is anticipating death. He is mushtaq to death, just like a baby that is nursing, is yearning for milk. He is yearning for death. And then we see also at the same time, he says, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He would look at the sky and say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We belong to Allah, and to him we shall return. These are the last dhikrs of Ali. Or say, Allahumma barik li fil maut. Make death for me blessed. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. There is no might nor power except in Allah, the Most High, the Exalted. He came towards the masjid, and there they say even the ducks, they came in front of him. Even his belt was stuck. And then he would tell his belt, Ushdud hayazimak lil maut fa inna al maut laqiq. He would tell himself, tighten your belt, for surely soon you will meet death. Inshallah, the other nights, inshallah, the nights of the 19th, 20th, and 21st, you'll hear the rest of the maqtal, inshallah, from the scholar. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Ya Allah, we ask you, by the dhikr of Imam Ali, by an Imam that was born in the Kaaba, by an Imam that was struck in the head while he was in the masjid, while the Imam that was struck in the head while he was doing salat, we ask you, inshallah, to always remember you and constantly remember you. Increase our dhikr and remembrance in terms of quantity and quality, inshallah. Do not make us of the ghafilun and those that have been neglectful. Don't make us of those that have been neglectful of our Imam of the age. And allow us to do the most important dua that we have in Shahr Ramadan, to expedite his return. Ya Allah, your dhikr, remembrance is shafa. Please, right now in India, in different areas, inside the world, people are suffering from disease. People are dying. They're in the hospitals. They cannot breathe. Allah, bring them, inshallah, relief. Ya Allah, we ask you, those marhumeen and our family members that have passed away, give them some of the reward of this majlis, inshallah. Ya Allah, make us good companions for Imam Zaman, inshallah, and expedite his return with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Oh, actually, I apologize. I think we have some questions here. Let's see about the questions. Okay. Let's see. We have a few questions, those that are on Zoom. And those that are, okay, let me see. If you have, okay, I see two questions here. And if you have a really busy life and limited time besides wajibat, is it better to recite a little bit of Quran with understanding or just recite more Quran? I answered this question. I have a video if you want to watch it about quantity or quality. My idea is that it is a better idea to do both. To try at the same time squeeze in some Quran, even if I know you might not pay attention to it all the time, but in the long term, you're going to benefit because you're going to be more familiar with Arabic, going to be more familiar with the meaning. But obviously, if it's just going to change you, you're also looking at that, that quality. Maybe you would say overall quality is more important, but that shouldn't be an excuse for you not to leave the quantity and say, oh, I'm just going to focus on one line. Okay, I did it, I'm done. Not going to read Quran anymore. No, try get a headphone, or let us listen to your ear as much Quran as you can, and that will benefit you. But at the same time, there's specific areas where you can focus on the tafsir and times as well. But I recommend on both, half, do quality and quantity. A lot of times when you're doing that quantity, that quality will come in the middle. You don't feel like reading dua, but or reading Quran, then in the middle you feel like it. So focus on both. What is the hukm of khums for stocks and bitcoins? Well, bitcoins, about the khums of it, I'm not sure. I'm assuming if you go to some of the other Maraj al-Taqlid, Ayatollah Shobairi Zanjani, he doesn't have any issues with Bitcoin. You can refer to him about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. Ayatollah Sistani, it says is permissible, but the issue that he just has is that transfership is not, doesn't happen because both parties are satisfied with the deal. It is allowed. It is allowed, but doesn't have all the conditions of correct transaction. Therefore, it doesn't transfer ownership, but as an obligatory precaution. But for that obligatory precaution, you can go to Ayatollah Zanjani. I'm assuming here, if you follow Ayatollah Zanjani, it would be considered just like currency, like money. So if that money that you have, like stocks for sure, I can say. For Bitcoin, I can't say for sure, but or cryptocurrencies, any gain that you have, that money that you put in, it depends if it's Muhammad's money or not Muhammad's money. If it's inheritance, for example, if it's not inheritance. If that money was from money that a year has passed from your earnings, from your salary, that money itself has khums if a year has passed. And the second would be, if you have increase, inshallah you do have increase, then you'd also have khums on the increase as well. So if that's ghayr Muhammad's money that has not been, khums has not been paid on it even from before, if it's fresh money from this year and a year has passed, that money, that investment itself has 20%. And also that increase has 20%. Now, once that you pay that khums 1 year, that money becomes Muhammad's, and if you don't touch it, you don't have to pay khums for that money again if it's new money. Okay. But on the increase, it would have khums as well. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد.
My God, this tribulation has become agonizing.
إلهي عظم البلاء وبرح الخفاء.
It's now out in the open.
وانكشف الغطاء.
The veil has been lifted.
وانغطى الرجاء.
All hope has been lost.
وضاقت الأرض.
Everyone is at a loss.
ومنعت السماء.
The heaven has been blocked.
وأنت المستعان.
You are the one from whom help is sought.
وإليك
You are the one to whom grievances are brought. You are the one who is relied upon in times of both severity and prosperity. O God, bless Muhammad and members of his family who are the rightful leaders. You have made it obligatory for us to obey them. And through this obedience, you have made their true status known to us. So please, give us relief for their sake. A swift and prompt relief within the blink of an eye, or even quicker than that. O Muhammad, O Ali, O Ali, O Muhammad, protect me as you two are truly capable of doing so. Help me as you two are truly capable of helping me. O our Master, the Lord of the age, help me, help me, help me, take hold of me, take hold of me, take hold of me, at this moment, at this moment, at this moment. Hurry, hurry, hurry. O God, the most merciful of all who show mercy, have mercy on me for the sake of Muhammad and the pure members of his family.
از نور حسن محمد چشم عالم شده روشن، از رایحه لبخندش عالم یک سر شده گلشن. یا محمد یا محمد شام دل انسان ها را تو شدی چون ما، ای هادی اهل دنیا یا رسول الله. شام دل انسان ها را تو شدی چون ما، ای هادی اهل دنیا یا رسول الله، یا رسول الله. قلب بالحق تعلق وبغار حراء تألق، يبكي يسأل خالقه فأتاه الوحي فأشرق. صل على محمد السلام يا رسول الله.
يا طيبة جئتك صبا لرسول الله محبا، بالروضة سكنت روحي وجوار الهادي محمد.
صبحی که دمید از مشرق با سوری از چشمانش، سرچشمه‌ای از رحمت بود در جاری بی پایانش. السلام علیک یا رسول الله، السلام علیک حبیبی یا نبی الله، السلام علیک یا رسول الله، السلام علیک حبیبی یا نبی الله یا رسول الله.